Welcome everyone to Space Dragmar. It's time for some more Raid Shadow Legends. We are going to be continuing on. I'm obviously not going to pass that up for any reason. But we have something more important to do. The Doom Tower climb begins. So, we are going to start with Deacon or some kind of control. Flock Revive in there. What kind of wave nuking do we have here? Let's go full damage so we can get through this quickly. So we actually don't have much time. As my preferred method of Doom Tower normal is just to blast through it with damage. The early part anyway. Because I don't want, number one, I don't want to be boring. Number two, if I don't get this cleared as quick as I can, we are not going to get to this part quick enough, and I'm not going to get my 5 keys in. Because there's a little more than an hour to us in which to do this. Now, you might ask, why am I rushing? These waves are relatively trivial compared to what we are going to be fighting. What we're going to be fighting is, although Rosin's a great champ, what we're going to be fighting is some very evil enemies. So we're going to keep going up the tower until something stops us. And also to get to that secret room. Until we get to the secret room is what more like. We're going to get to the secret room, do the secret room. Get him out of here. Keeping their turn meter down is how you can blast through them very effectively without too much need for support. Yeah, we need to do at least 5 of these. I'm going for the ham strategy because I just want to get... I don't want to wait around. That's why. Deacon is usually the portal to the ham strategy, and also having a nuker that hits very hard. Generally, when doing this, you're going to want to have a nuker or multiple nukers that hit very hard. Plus, of like a provoke champion, something to provoke them. That's generally how this strategy works, and I use it Because I want to do stuff quickly. I don't want to be slow on the uptake. Now, you can do the same kind of thing. Well, not exactly in Doom Tower Hard. But there you will want even harder hitting champs and harder hitting builds than I do here. There is a disadvantage to this, though. You are also glass cannon. So this only works a part of the way up the tower. And I don't recommend glass cannon stuff versus the boss. So, rares only. We're going to want apothecary in there. Actually, well, yeah, we are. Or can we opt for a more ham strategy? You know, I think we can. We'll say. We will see. Okay. Let's go for that. This is one of the few places I use Elhain. Get rid of that. And there we go. 41 seconds. I'll take it. Let's keep it up. If we can reach the boss in record time, not record time, but if we can reach the boss quickly, yeah, that will be great. You're going to want to keep these enemies controlled at all times. That's the key with this strat. Because if you don't keep these enemies controlled at any point, you are in for a lot of pain. So that's something to note. If I get stopped, so be it. But so far, my strategy working. So we're going to keep it up. Now, Bommel, we can't do it that way. Bommel, we have to give it my full regards, but there's a couple of strategies. The reason I say that is that Bommel is a special boss. A very nasty boss. Because he places bombs everywhere, and when he does that, he creates a lot of chaos, and he also rips your team to shreds. So it's pretty much impossible to do the Bommel floor without support. This one's going to be a bit slower because there's Vogoths involved and there's a number of factors. There is a number of factors that make this floor harder. It doesn't help that they have a lot of unkillable potential. Okay, we took him out. Now you're like, but why aren't you afraid of the Vogoth? Vogoth is only really scary with good friends, honestly. That is the truth about Vogoth. If the Vogoth doesn't have good friends, you know, this could be faster if I had a more nuke-oriented War Maiden here. It would also be faster if they didn't put a Necrit into the equation. Because putting a Necrit into this equation is making this a lot more hard and complicated than it needs to be. Like a lot more. If they didn't have one, I would have already passed the floor. But since they had a Necrit, I'm going to be here a much while longer. See the difference? See how much longer I have to whack on the one champ because they had to have a Necrit. They had to be lucky enough to get a Necrit. Okay. So there's a number of strategies that we can use versus this boss. We do want block damage and revives. We want high resist. We want we're going to try putting I can't put him in the equation. We'll put Geo in the equation for damage. Now, you may ask, what is Geo's purpose in all this? Well, Geo has two purposes. One, to do DPS. The other purpose he has is... His other purpose is to decrease the accuracy of the boss. Because by decreasing the accuracy of the boss, we can do a lot versus the boss. Rosin also works versus this boss. Templar can technically solo this boss. So we got the high resist sill here. Got decrease accuracy. Demytha is super cheese in this boss fight, by the way. Anything with block damage is super cheese. Creeping Petrify does a lot of damage. So that's one way to beat it. There's other ways. You don't need a Geo. You can just do it with this squad. But it's slower. I'm trying to think of what damage dealer. You'll want a force or spirit damage dealer. Because, see, it's hard to put someone who's magic affinity in this squad. It genuinely is. So that was 2 keys. We need to use 3 more. I want to try some strange tactics. I mean, obviously the best tactic of this is probably just go with the Vogoth other strategy, but do we really want to be that boring? Do we? That's the real question we always have to ask ourselves. Do we want to be this boring? That's always what we have to ask. Because the problem is that the safest strategy versus this boss is also the most boring. So you have to make a choice. Safety or boredom. Like safety and boredom, or dangerous but more entertaining. I choose the dangerous but more entertaining thing. It's a poison. Try more poison on it. Let's see. Colony expands, get some poison on it. Do not put Frozen Banshee in here. She will get bombed to heck and back, by the way. Do not put Frozen Banshee in here. Now, there are other strategies you can use. I'm going to try a Cult Brawler and see if I can bomb it with poison more, but then that means I also have to put more protection. Because every time try this mixture. See, here's the big rub, right? This isn't even the hardest boss in the tower. The hardest boss for me is one that involves magic affinity nukers and surviving while having full damage and magic affinity nukers. That's actually the hardest boss, which is Dark Fae for me. Bommel is not the hardest boss for me anymore because you can simply cheese Bommel with specific high resistance supporty teams, which is what this account is gifted with. It's when you have an account that's not gifted with it, that's when it's a hard boss. That's the truth about Bommel. That's the truth a lot of people don't tell you about Bommel. Is that he is susceptible to the same teams that a lot of other bosses are susceptible to. Especially Eternal Dragon. He's very susceptible to resist teams with lots of passive healing. He's very susceptible to it. So since he's susceptible to it, generally speaking, it's not that hard if you have the right squad. The other one's a lot harder if you need a very other specific squad, a kind of squad I don't have. Got Perfect Veil up. Not sure why the bomb didn't... Did the bomb go off? Not the bomb, the poison. Did the poison go off is the real question. Yeah, Demytha is super overpowered versus this boss, by the way. Just want to point that out. Demytha is really overpowered versus this boss. No matter what you use, Demytha's overpowered versus this. Alright. Did we use all the keys? Of course not. Okay, well, I'm gonna try... Now, there's a reason why I include Rector Drath in that, because what Rector Drath does is Rector Drath reduces the occurrence of bombs. See, you cannot remove or cleanse these bombs, but Perfect Veil helps you avoid the bombs. So that's why Perfect Veil is very useful in this fight, because it reduces damage input and it reduces bombs. So that's one way to deal with it. I guess Direct Star could be something. Because I need to do this 2 more times. Now, there is a bomb champion strategy. The problem is I don't have a bomb champion built. And I doubt I can get one to live long enough in their current state to see the power of that feather barrage. The main thing is to keep her under veil. As long as she's under veil, the chance of her getting hurt is minimal. But she must be under veil. Because the second that she gets out from under that veil, she will get blown to shreds by 1,000 bombs. That's how this works. At least that's how it keeps her alive. And the bombs are not removable, so don't even at me with the, oh, you can cleanse them off. No. Answer's no. You can't. You cannot cleanse the bombs off. That's why this setup is to nullify the bombs. Might be able to take the Vogoth out of the equation. Put a ninja in here. But the block damage is going to be necessary to keep it going. Like, you can just do it without that, but then you need Templar. Because Templar is very essential to doing it solo. Because what happens is if you don't have block damage, I'm trying to show that now. Without block damage, the chance of you doing this is nearly impossible if you don't have block damage. It doesn't matter what difficulty you're on. The block damage is more important than anything. Yes, Vogoth makes it safer, but he isn't as big of a deal as the block damage. This boss is extremely weak to block damage, even more so than unkillable. Now you can solo this with Paragon, but there's a thing about Paragon. You need him in high resist. If you do not have high resist, Paragon gets destroyed in this fight. So we get the burn on him, right? And the ninja goes in with his rub. See, and then you can keep everyone alive. Another really good thing would be like a force affinity nuker or a void affinity nuker. You can keep under these veils and just like knock him out. But you'll want block damage to go with it. Or unkillable buff with high resist. This boss is extremely countered by resist and perfect fails. Remember that. And naturally high resist on your supports. Your supports are the ones that need the most resist because they're the ones who need to survive. They also need high amounts of health because without high amounts of health, these bombs ignore defense completely. So, since they ignore defense completely, generally speaking, you need health. I avoid Sifi teams. They tend to be really obnoxious. Anyway, we're going to continue this in the next episode.